The June 9th special meeting of the Garden Grove City Council. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Councilmember Tran.
Here.
Councilmember Muñetón.
Here.
Councilmember Aristegui.
Here.
And Mayor Klumpenstein.
Here.
And Councilmember Dovin is absent.
All right, if I could have our Mayor Pro Tem George Brightingham lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Didn't call me.
Councilmember
But
Brightingham.
I am here. Please rise, everybody. Face the flag, hand over heart. If you're wearing a hat, please take it off. Begin. I pledge allegiance
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, that will take us into presentations. Item 1.
Item 1 this evening is the hazardous materials incident update, and as City Manager Lisa Kim will introduce that item.
Evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. As we continue our efforts to keep our community informed and connected with available resources related to the GKN incident, we are fortunate to have two partners joining us this evening. First, I would like to introduce Sue Parks with Orange County United Way, who will provide an update on the community resources as it relates to the Orange County Community Resiliency Fund and support services associated with supporting our residents and families who were impacted. Following Sue's remarks, I would like to also introduce Joe Lucas with the South Coast Air Quality Management District, who will share information regarding air quality monitoring and regulatory oversight. I'll turn it over to Sue.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know, Orange County United Way is a 501c3 nonprofit serving the people of Orange County. We also operate 211, the social services hotline for Orange County. On June 1st, 2026, Orange County United Way activated our Orange County Community Resilience Fund to help applicants who are impacted by the potential chemical incident and evacuation. As we know, thousands of residents and small businesses have experienced unexpected financial and personal hardship. When we created the fund, we initially received a small amount of donations, and then we received the $3 million philanthropic contribution from GKN Aerospace. That contribution will allow us to help 6,000 residents in the evacuation zone. As of this afternoon, we have received nearly 4,500 applications for assistance since last week, with an estimated 22% from Garden Grove. Residents and businesses seeking assistance can call 211 and select option 7. Eligibility screening includes verification that the applicant is located within the impacted evacuation area through a cell phone or utility or other bill that includes their name and address, along with a photo ID. This assistance is intended to help address some of the immediate needs resulting from the disruption caused by the evacuation. Qualified residents may receive a one-time $500 electronic gift card following eligibility verification through 211OC. Assistance is limited to one benefit per impacted address and will be provided while the funds remain available. Callers to 211 can access information in 200 languages, and we are translating the FAQ into Spanish and Vietnamese, which will be posted on our website. This was a major operational effort that we assembled in 48 hours, having to pull in resources from other parts of our organization, as well as other 211s from neighboring counties to assist with the volumes of calls. Despite the short timeline, the team is working around the clock, and after receiving the major funds just yesterday, financial assistance has already been provided to over 150 impacted residents. We anticipate that all funds will be committed to callers by this Thursday, at which time we will need to stop this effort until we can identify additional funding. We welcome additional funding from the community so we can serve more people affected by this crisis. As a reminder, 211 can also connect residents to a wide range of support services, including food assistance, housing support, health care resources, child care resources, transportation assistance, and more. Our goal, based on available resources, is that every resident is connected to help wherever possible. We appreciate the efforts of the City of Garden Grove to help share information with impacted residents. Your partnership has been instrumental in ensuring those affected are aware of available support and understand how to access it. We encourage you to help raise awareness on the ongoing fundraising efforts that will allow us to continue supporting residents impacted by this incident. For more information and an FAQ on the fund, please visit unitedwayoc.org under Get Involved. We invite you to share this page across your networks, and thank you for your commitment to the communities we collectively serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And now I'd like to call up Joe Lucas with AQMD.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Joe Lucas. I am a toxicologist with Ontaris, a consulting firm that's working closely with South Coast AQMD and the Orange County Healthcare Agency. I'd like to just briefly talk about the air monitoring program that we have in place at the facility and the public dashboard that we've made available earlier last week. Our air monitoring program operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have 4 stationary monitors around the facility fence line, as well as field teams roaming the community using handheld instruments or a mobile monitoring van to assess the air quality. Our real-time instruments look specifically for volatile organic compounds, also known as VOCs. VOC sensors are commonly used in emergency response incidents because they can detect hundreds of chemicals that can be commonly found in household products, paints, fragrances, and they make them a very easy and effective way to quickly screen areas for the presence of VOCs, which includes methyl methacrylate, or MMA. We are also conducting monitoring specifically for MMA, both with handheld instruments as well as analytical sampling canisters that are shipped off to the lab. And these provide a confirmation for the VOC monitoring, as well as allow us to achieve extremely low detection limits. To date, all of our VOC monitoring, both at the fence line and the roaming community monitoring, has indicated that VOC levels are within typical background concentrations you find in outdoor air, and we have not detected MMA in the community, either with our real-time instruments or with our analytical sampling. All of our data is shared with US EPA as well as South Coast AQMD and is now also publicly available on an air monitoring dashboard hosted on the Orange County CUPA's website. That dashboard is updated twice a day and includes filters on the left side of the dashboard to either look at data from a specific day of interest, as well as if you want to just look at the VOC data or the MMA data, or by the type of monitoring, such as if you only want to look at the mobile van monitoring data. We are continuing to share that data with AQMD, and as part of this response, working closely with AQMD as well as Orange County to continue to monitor the air during this response and cleanup effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, this concludes our presentation at this point.
Very good. City Manager Kim, just for point of reference to the community, the information, the dashboard that he's mentioning, I believe it's occupainfo.com. Is that correct? Yes. Thank you. All right, with that, we will head into oral communications. As we move to open the floor for public comment, I'd like to ask that you keep your comments respectful and within a 2-minute time limit. Any person making impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks, or who becomes boisterous while addressing the City Council will be called to order. If the conduct continues, you'll be barred from addressing the City Council any further and removed from the meeting. Madam Clerk, go ahead and call the cards.
Thank you, Mayor. We will queue up our first 3 speakers. First is Sophia Peng. Next will be Zuri Rashad. And next after Zuri is Tin Vu. Sophia Peng.
Hi, I'm Sophia from Stanton. Showing up is the first step. The residents now need transparency, accountability, and plans for measurable change from both Garden Grove and GKN. We have heard assurances that audits were being conducted and this was an isolated event. However, if the existing procedures were truly effective, how did this happen and why? What was inspected? How often were inspections conducted? And were there any previous concerns and warning signs? Will there be change? Will there be changes to ensure this doesn't happen again? Trust cannot be rebuilt through statements alone. It must be earned through independent audits, disclosures of inspections and findings, stricter and more frequent enforcement, and a commitment to keeping this community informed. Lastly, Garden Grove needs to properly enforce policies to ensure manufacturers are being rigorously audited and held to the highest standards, because companies will always put profits over people, and it's your job to protect us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is Zuri Rashad.
Hello. My name is Zuri Rashad. I'm a PhD candidate in the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering at UC Irvine. To the city members of Garden Grove, city council members of Garden Grove, the hazardous chemical spill that occurred on Thursday, May 21st was a result of the negligence of GKN Aerospace. You may be asking, what should the repercussions be for this corporation? What will happen to the city if we force them to leave? I would argue that allowing GKN Aerospace to continue operating their facility is a greater threat to the economy and the environment. The presence of methyl acrylate evaporating in the air causes respiratory illnesses for surrounding citizens, which leads to a greater burden on the health services the city provides. The damage to the air and the potential for a catastrophic explosion required the mandatory evacuation of 50,000 citizens, both inside and outside of Garden Grove, which disrupted the livelihoods of community members that pay taxes to the city. Even the present cleanup process is a financial burden, as the city does not have anyone willing to accept the toxic waste and transport it elsewhere. The appropriate response to an environmental disaster of this scale would be for GKN Aerospace to compensate citizens who are forced to evacuate, pay for all current and future healthcare needs that result from this incident, bankroll the cost of hazardous waste decontamination, and remove their facility from the city so that future incidents cannot occur. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tin Vu. Now it's our next three speakers that we're going to go ahead and queue up. Andres Rubio, Alexis, Puyaro, and Julian Puyaro. So next we have Tin Vu.
Hello, my name is Tin, and I'm a student at Rancho Alamitos High School. I want to start off by saying that I feel it is unacceptable that the same company that was the reason for the chemical incident is allowed to operate within our community. Families were forced to evacuate their homes, businesses had to close, and many people were left wondering if they were truly safe. During that time, I had friends and family who were worried and unsure if they would even be able to go home safely without the worry of any dangers or damages done to their homes. Today, I'm not speaking for me. I'm speaking for my community and those affected in this incident, and those that fear that this could happen again. When a facility like GKN has the potential to impact thousands of lives like it did a few weeks ago, we have to ask if this is really worth the convenience or profits over the lives of people living in the community. So I ask of you, please shut down GKN. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Andres Rubio.
Hello, Mayor and Council members. I'm a senior at Rancho Alamitos High School, and I was personally evacuated, so I want to add to my demands for GKN to be shut down. As someone who lives less than a mile away, I do not feel safe in any way, knowing that we literally have a bomb in our backyard, because companies like GKN treat fines as just another business expense, instead of fixing the problems that put people's life at risk. Any company that repeatedly chooses to pay penalties rather than prioritize public safety has no place surrounded by thousands of families, homes, and schools. Just a little reminder, this happened in a school day There's an elementary, middle school, and high school less than a mile away. It would have happened a couple hours earlier, thousands of students could have possibly died from an explosion. The reality is that our community was lucky. Luck is not a safety plan, luck is not accountability, and luck is not leadership. So today I'm demanding that the mayor and city council members stop taking a passive approach and start taking meaningful actions against GKN. Our community deserves more than statements of concern and promises. We deserve leadership that puts the safety of residents above corporate interest. The people of Garden Grove should not have to live in fear that another preventable incident could happen tomorrow, next month, or next year. Take action, hold this company accountable, and make it clear that safety of our families, students, and neighborhoods is not negotiable. Thank you.
Alexis?
Good evening. My name is Alexis, and I am a Garden Grove resident. I live in the neighborhood directly next to the GKN facility. My home is approximately 1,000 feet from the tanks involved in this recent incident. I am here today to share my experience during this evacuation. This evacuation was the most stressful experience in my life. Throughout our displacement, my husband and I genuinely believed we were going to lose everything we had worked so hard to build. We watched news updates and emergency briefings, knowing the facility was only a few minutes' walk away from our home. Every morning, I woke up around 4 a.m., grabbed my phone, and frantically checked our security cameras to see if our house had made it through the night. I also live with inflammatory bowel disease and take immunosuppressive medication. Because we were displaced from our home and forced to rely on restaurants and takeout for nearly every meal, I contracted enterotoxigenic E. coli during the evacuation. An already frightening experience became even more difficult as I dealt with this serious infection while away from home. Since returning home, life has not been the same. When I hear sirens or helicopters approaching the neighborhood, my body reacts before my mind does. My heart rate rises, I get a stomach-wrenching sensation, and I am immediately brought back to those days of uncertainty and fear. I do not sleep as easily as I did before this incident. I know my experience is only one of thousands. No resident should have to spend days wondering whether their home, pets, or memories will survive a preventable industrial emergency. I am asking the City Council to do everything within its power to hold GKN accountable and pursue long-term solutions that better protect the residents living around this facility. The people of Garden Grove deserve to feel safe in their homes. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Julian?
Good evening. I live about 1,000 feet from the GKN tanks, inside what the Orange County Fire Authority designated the most severe blast zone. Over Memorial Day weekend, I lived with the knowledge that everything I owned, everything I worked for, sat next to the tanks that officials told us would either explode or spill. That one of these outcomes was inevitable. For 6 days, everything I owned sat in that blast zone while I checked my phone every hour to learn whether my home still stood. I'm here because I'm afraid of what comes next. And I have 3 questions for the council and GKN. First, what happens after the tanks are drained? While removing stabilized MMA is the right step right now, it's not a plan, it's a pause. Will GKN be installing new tanks? Will MMA be stored at this site again? Second, how close did we actually come? That tank held 7,000 gallons in a 34,000 gallon vessel, and the emergency ended only because it cracked just enough to relieve pressure. What would a fuller tank with less headroom have done? That is the true risk this neighborhood was and may yet again be exposed to. Third, and this is the heart of why I'm here, I'm asking this council to ensure that the bulk storage of MMA does not return to this site. Not with newer tanks, not with better sensors, not with a promise to communicate better next time. Use the city's permitting and land use authority to prohibit bulk storage of this chemical next to a residential neighborhood. If GKN's operations require it, those operations belong somewhere where people don't sleep. We were lucky once, and I'm asking you to make sure our safety never depends on that luck again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next 3 speakers, Willie Burkhardt, Bert Ashland, and Charlene Cuellar. Willie Burghardt.
Hi, my name is Willie Burkhart. I live in the Westminster area of the evacuation zone, and I was evacuated on Friday, May 22nd at 11:18 while I was at work with my preschool children. I had to leave midday to evacuate my house. My youngest son had to stay home from work. He missed work hours that day. So we could take the animals to a family member's apartment in Huntington Beach, while my other part of my family, there's 6 of us that live in my home, it's expensive to live in California, had to go to a hotel at Knott's Berry Farm where my son works, was employed. It was a lot of money going out, probably up to about $2,000 by the time we had to stay at hotels and feed everybody, because we had a little time to grab things because we had little notification. And there was a lot of nerves, obviously, as well. As a family, though, we were the lucky ones. I had neighbors who never left their homes. That scared me. I've got a lot of friends in that neighborhood. I've been in that neighborhood since 1991. So it was a scary time for all of us. They didn't have a place to go. I did. I was lucky. My insurance company called me yesterday and told me they can't reimburse me for loss of use because there was no physical damage to anything in the area. I've tried calling 211. I've called them since Saturday and have not gotten a response yet. I realize they're probably backed up, but I may be one of the people that doesn't get reimbursed because I'm not getting any phone calls back. And there's other people that probably need it more than I do anyway. So like I said, I'm one of the lucky ones. I think that GKN, your company is based out of Canada. You guys could do better, eh? It would be really nice to see you guys, sorry, I need to laugh. It would be really nice to see you guys actually set up a better fund system for everybody. Everybody should be reimbursed for what happened to them. I never want to be that scared again. It was bad enough when I got locked down for COVID. I was going to miss the last week of school with my preschoolers, and I hate doing that because I've already done it once in my life, and I don't want to do it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bert Ashland.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I'm here to say that as a 50-year resident of our community, I've never been prouder of your staff, of the police department, of our fire department, of all the emergency services that the city was able to corral and bring to this issue. I know we have the chief of police here. They did a good job. OCTA exceeded my expectations. Everybody here on the dais should be proud of the people that work for you. And that's all I have to say. This is really, when it comes to land use, GKN's been there for a long, long time. The Garden Grove Industrial Complex should be thrilled to have aerospace companies like GKN as tenants and property owners. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Kloffenstein, City Council members, city staff, and all my neighbors here tonight and watching from home. My name is Charlene Cuellar. I am a very proud Garden Grove resident, a parent and community member who's deeply involved in our school communities here in Garden Grove. Tonight, I want to speak to my neighbors and city staff and city leaders, and to GKN, who I thought was going to be here tonight to listen to us all. I hope they're listening. Before we talk about what happened, and I'm sure we're all here to talk about our personal experiences, I think it's important to remember who we are. Garden Grove is a community of families. Some of us have been here for multiple generations, and others of us just arrived recently. But together we bring our culture, our communities, our languages, all of those things that make our community so beautifully diverse and that we celebrate tremendously here in Garden Grove. I'm proud to raise my family here. Our children grow up alongside classmates from every corner of the world, and we are a city here where our churches, our temples, our neighborhoods, and backgrounds exist side by side. We're diverse and we're strong because of it. And that's why what happened over Memorial Day weekend and the days after affected so many people so deeply. People and families were evacuated. Residents were really in fear of their homes and their safety, and businesses lost revenues. Schools, neighborhoods, parents, and children were shaken. For many people, this was not just an inconvenience, it was frightening. I also witnessed our incredible support staff in our community who all rose to support each other. Garden Grove did its part. And I'm here today to ask that make sure that GKN Aerospace does theirs. As we move forward, I hope GKN Aerospace not only invest and make all of us whole that lost any part of it, but that we all are made whole. Thank you so much, Garden Grove. Thank you.
Next three speakers will be Terry Rocco, Sandy Ishii, and Mariela.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank you, the mayor and council and all the first responders. And to GKN, I'm a community member whose family was evacuated, and yes, it was stressful and very uncertain. How long was this going to be, how bad it was going to be, but it was very difficult for me to see the trauma through my grandchildren's eyes, who worried about was their house going to blow up, their friends, their school, the confusion, and my 94-year-old father who had to go pick up because he was evacuated first, then got to my house, and then we were evacuated. So it was a very trying experience, but really I'm here for the voice of people who can't be here. I'm also on the school board for the Garden Grove Unified School District, representing Trustee Area 1, which was totally impacted. All 12 of our schools in that area had to close. I spent a lot of time on the phone or fielding emails from family members who were closest to Ground Zero. They were hit the hardest. They couldn't find shelters. Some of them slept in their cars. Some of them stayed home. I stayed a half hour, almost 45 minutes, trying to talk someone into leaving immediately. But where were they going to go? They lived paycheck to paycheck, so a lot of them lost a week's wages, or worse than that, lost their job because they didn't show. It was really the community who came together to provide a food drive for them, and we need to do more. The direct impact to our district made our superintendent, all our administrators work through the weekend to get information out, to assure families to have a plan A, B, and C, while the rest of the district was business as usual. We have 67 schools. To GKN, I just want you to know that just because the danger is over, families and businesses are still recovering, and you have a civic responsibility to fully restore all that was lost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy Ishii.
Thank you, City Council. Today I'll be directing my comments to GKN and hoping again that they're in the room. I'm Sandy Ishii, a retired Garden Grove principal, longtime resident, and here to speak in support in behalf of families and children in our community, as they are our city's most valuable asset. While the worst case scenario didn't occur, the community wants to know what led up to this crisis that put community members, first responders, and so many others in harm's way. What did occur was that GKN's policies and practices displaced tens of thousands of people at a time when school children should have been celebrating at end-of-year class parties with their teachers and their friends. Families were preparing for promotions and graduation ceremonies, as well as remembering our fallen soldiers and celebrating our hometown Strawberry Festival parade that was canceled. Instead, for Memorial Day weekend, memories will be those of fear, being evacuated and unhoused, and a lingering fear in our youth of could this possibly happen again? As a business leader, GKN must prioritize the community that surrounds you, especially those who suffered due to this evacuation. GKN is a stone's throw away from homes, families, children, and schools. I ask on behalf of the community, move all your high-risk chemical storage off-site to an industrial area that's appropriate to house volatile chemicals. Also, if that's not possible, relocate your operations requiring the use of MMA to a location that's suitable. We expect full transparency on all GKN's actions moving forward. This is not just about GKN, it's about their leadership. You owe our community for the displacement, fear, and danger, and the negative spotlight you put on our beautiful town. Work hard to rebuild our trust. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Mariella.
Hello, good evening. I was raised living in Garden Grove, a community that continues to prove their resilience and continues to protect each other when those who should don't. Community continues to show up and mobilize for each other, while council, you continue to hide in bureaucracy. But you're not the only ones. GKN is here, and hopefully not for long. On their website, GKN stated that they're sorry for the uncertainty and disruption this situation has caused. Imminent threat of a toxic chemical explosion is not just disruption. There were 50K residents needing to evacuate urgently, many of them leaving behind lifelines like medication, and our disabled neighbors not having the accessible transportation needed. There are workers getting laid off or not going to work in the evacuation zone, and ongoing language barriers that officials are not proactive in bridging. Our migrant community having to find safe haven amidst this public safety crisis, while this city continues to let ICE run rampant. All of that is not just a disruption, and is just the tip of the iceberg. This was a disaster that almost killed people, and it is a disservice that GKN continues to undermine the severity of that. Every life is sacred, from every resident here to the people in Palestine. GKN is an essential supplier to the war machine, manufacturing transparency canopies in the GG facility that is crucial for F-35 cockpit operations as a whole. The Zionist occupation, Israel, has used F-35s to continue committing genocide in Palestine, such as dropping 2,000-pound bombs in Al-Mawazi in July 2024, a designated safe zone that killed at least 90 people. These war manufacturers are in our neighborhoods, and the longer they stay, the more lives they endanger and will kill, here and abroad. We want these war manufacturers out. City Council, you have the power to put an end to it. Reject GKN expansion, shut down GKN, and adopt a moratorium now. Shame on you, GKN.
Next three speakers, Carlos, Colorado, Manda Z, and Kenny. Carlos, Colorado.
Good evening to the Honorable Council and to the ladies and gentlemen that are gathered here. My name is Carlos Colorado, and I'm part of the legal team that represents a wide swath of your constituents who are hardworking, deeply rooted families from this community who have joined together in a class action lawsuit stemming from this incident. As you well know, next month Garden Grove celebrates 70 years from the time that it was incorporated as a city. It is a young city, but I submit to you that it is a city that is at a crossroads. That is, it must decide whether it's going to continue to honor the principles that it was incorporated under, or whether it will allow newcomers, industrial interlopers, to hijack its destiny. The first settlers here christened this community Garden Grove, not Chemical Grove, not Industrial Park. And when someone said, you know, this place, that name isn't appropriate to the landscape here, your founders said, we'll make it appropriate by planting trees and making it beautiful. And that's the dream that brought so many people here, especially after the Second World War, when people came out here in droves and made it the largest growing community in the entire country. The Garden Grove dream requires this city council to hold GKN accountable so that that garden does not get traded in for an industrial park or for a barren wasteland. We hope that we will hold GKN accountable, and we're willing to do our part. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Manda. Manda Z.
Hi, I'm Em, and I'm with Resist USI War and UCI. In 4 weeks, we learned that GKN forced 50,000 Garden Grove residents to evacuate. But even with the evacuation order formally being lifted, their negligence has costed people their work, and they're laid off, and people are still financially recovering from these evacuations. While I heard community members experiencing skin irritation, dizziness, side effects of MMA, and they're just facing the anxiety over the lack of transparency. Over the weeks, we learned that GKN has a long history of environmental violations and operating without correct permits, but the most common type of violation were worker safety violations involving injury prevention and machinery inspection. Not only do their violations cost the livelihoods of the workers of Garden Grove, but show that they neglect their own workers because they prioritize profit and not people. When the community is facing health issues from the chemicals, it was organizations reaching out with health surveys, while GKN had nothing to do to be transparent about it. Your destruction does not only stop in Garden Grove, but we know that GKN creates parts for F-35 jets for US-led war, military vehicles that conducted the siege of Marawi that killed over 1,000 people and displaced hundreds of thousands in the Philippines who still live in refugee camps today, and parts of the MH-60M Black Hawk that was used in military exercises in Long Beach just this week. It is clear where your priorities lie, and the impacts are not over with the false safety of an evacuation lift and a drop in the bucket of $3 million. We call for more. We demand to make GKN pay. We want the full transparency about the health and environmental impacts this chemical leak will have on us. They have exposed themselves to not be trusted, and we demand for them to be shut down. We call for Garden Grove to not approve any permits to enable expansions or increase production by GKN. We call for an immediate moratorium on new military facilities and to review their labor standard compliance. Thank you.
Kenny. Next speaker is Kenny.
Hi, I'm Kenny, member of VietRise and worker at Coastline College here in Garden Grove. During the Vietnam War, millions of people in the US engaged in direct actions against weapon manufacturers. So-called aerospace companies exactly like GKN were deploying napalm, otherwise known as liquid fire or the baby killer, against the Vietnamese people. The generation after of Vietnamese youth, current Vietnamese refugees, and working class immigrants who living through wars right now look at this crisis with rage but not without surprise. Crisis reveals what's always been there. Working class communities seeking refuge from one target of weapons manufacturers, forced to move into just another militarized geography. It's not just GKN. There's never been a moment in history in which a weapons manufacturer has been on the side of life. From the war in Vietnam to today, all weapons manufacturers are a fatal threat to life so long as they remain in our communities. Just as the genocide in Palestine has relied on our apathy, we must never accept the inevitability of destructive waste being able to be produced in our backyards. GKN wants us to drag our feet and wait this crisis out. They are a multi-billion-dollar company. $3 million is nothing to them, nothing. Literally each minute we wait to cleanse our city from weapons manufacturers like GKN, a F-35 they produce is already ready to drop a bomb on a family in the Middle East. And another one of their chemical tanks is waiting to explode in our neighborhoods. City Council, shut down GKN and ban all weapons manufacturers from the city now. Thank you.
Our next three speakers, Gina Wardlow, Alec Freeman, and Rayma. Gina?
Good evening.
I'm Gina Wardlow, 20-year employee of Garden Grove Unified School District, Cook Elementary School librarian, resident of Stanton, and evacuee. I'd like to thank all of my family and friends for helping me during the evacuation. Thank you to WAGS for taking care of our animals. Thank you to the community for conducting themselves in a manner with patience and cooperation. I am really proud of us. Thank you to our first responders. Thank you, City Council, for having us tonight. GKN, you scared us. You put our elderly, our children, our pets, our homes, our jobs, all of it in danger. You made us feel stupid. You were allowed to conduct business here because of an unrealized trust given to GKN by our community. Over many years, facts show that GKN ignored problems and safety issues. Because of that, we are now living in a feeling of impending doom. We cannot sleep at night with the GKN monster under our beds. We cannot answer our children's questions with confidence because we have zero confidence in GKN's ability to function safely in our community. Well, the lights are on. Our eyes have been opened by fear because of the irresponsible greed of GKN. We are awake. The threat is real. And each of us are being willing to stop and to sleep with those lights on. And until the danger of GKN is removed and our families and pets are safe again, GKN needs to put on their big boy pants and start acting like a professional, responsible company functioning in a community with real, living, breathing people and animals. How did these chemicals even get here? In our backyard on the railroads? It will take time to get GKN out. We know that, but we are determined. And in the meantime, what is GKN doing to make sure that our community is safe? We do not want vague promises.
Ma'am, your time
we
is
want
up.
answers. We demand answers. And we want proof that GKN will follow through to a
Ma'am, your time
resolution
is up. Thank
that
you.
ensures our community's safety. Thank you.
Next speaker, Alec Freeman.
Good evening. I'm Alec. My views are my own and do not necessarily reflect those of any organization. I'm speaking today as a concerned OC resident regarding the recent near disaster potentiated by GKN's plant and the Garden Grove City Council's lax review of GKN's prior safety violations. While we were fortunate to avoid a worst-case scenario, the incident exposed risks to our community's health and environment. Vulnerable members of our community, children, the elderly, and those with chronic respiratory illnesses were put at risk. There is also an economic cost to all this. Property values will decline, local businesses have suffered, and families who are already struggling to make ends meet have been forced to spend money they don't have to abide by evacuation orders. The $500 per family that has been donated so far by GKN is a drop in the bucket and will likely just be deducted by GKN for whatever taxes it pays. And, lest it be lost on anyone, the reason this GKN plant even exists right now is to help create weapons for Israel's genocide against the Palestinians. In other words, the violence that is being committed there is followed by assaults on the health of ordinary working people here in Southern California. We cannot afford to just treat this as a close call and move on. We must reject the proposed expansion of the GKN plant, cancel its permits, and prohibit the operation of weapons manufacturers in our towns and cities. Everyone's health, including our own, depends on it. Thank you.
Next speaker, Rayma.
Hello, my name is Rahma, and I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement and a PhD candidate in bioengineering. GKN must not be allowed to buy their way out of accountability, especially not with a meager $3 million donation. The recent chemical crisis can't be treated as an isolated incident, and it can't be treated as something that can easily be resolved with a check. Tens of thousands of Garden Grove residents were forced to evacuate with no plan, no resources, and no certainty about when they could return home. Businesses lost income, families had to deal with unexpected costs for food, transportation, childcare, medication, and housing. Yet, Garden Grove city officials have continued to issue permits for GKN's facility expansion. The company announced in 2024 their plan to expand their facility here in Garden Grove in order to double their production capacity of transparency canopies for the F-35 fighter jet. This is a particularly important component of the F-35 fighter jet, which we all know has been used extensively to perpetrate a genocide against the people of Gaza, and has more recently been used in attacks on Lebanon, Iran, and in the region broadly. GKN is complicit in genocide, and they are poisoning our communities as they profit from war. Council members, your constituents are demanding accountability. Accountability is not a corporation paying money after a disaster that it caused. Accountability means confronting the pattern that made this disaster possible. If this council wants to truly hold GKN accountable, then implement at least a half-a-mile buffer zone between military manufacturing facilities and residential areas, and adopt an immediate moratorium on new manufacturing facilities and expansions to existing ones. Reject GKN's attempts to expand their facility and kick them out of our city. Thank you.
Our next three speakers, Vicky Lee, Mary, and Maido. Vicky Lee.
My name is Vicky, and I'm a resident of District 3, and I work just 1 mile away from GKN Aerospace. In the last 2 city council meetings, the people have demanded that GKN must be held responsible for their negligence, not only for the chemical leak, but given the history of 10 OSHA violations from 4 separate investigations, this weapon manufacturing world profiteering facility should not be able to buy their way out of accountability, especially when a meager $3 million cannot buy back the old livelihood. During the crisis, I was fortunate enough that taking a few days off of work didn't affect me on a detrimental scale, but I think a lot about my coworkers who were anxiously waiting for because they didn't know when they would be receiving their next paycheck. It agitates me to think about how, regardless of the health risks associated with returning back to a workplace that is located so close to 7,000 gallons of methylate, that they were cheering when the evacuation order got lifted, because this is their lived reality. The ability to work 1 extra shift could make the difference in being able to afford rents or not. Garden Grove is a working class neighborhood with almost 50% of its residents being made up of migrants. It is ironic to think about how our community, who were originally displaced from their homeland of Vietnam, of Mexico, of Palestine, of the Philippines, due to imperialist war and plunder, are now being threatened by the exact same war machine. It is baffling to me to learn that within the last 4 years, Garden Grove city officials have continuously and uncritically approved GKN expansion permit, including the one that got issued 2 days before the incident. And for my Vietnamese council member, you said voting for your community. You say vote for your community because it is community that got your back. But why does it matter to me if Ali, Anuan, or China is sitting up there, especially if sitting up there means being complacent in a system that prioritizes profit over people? And for those who can't help it but to complain that these public comments are starting to sound like a broken record, maybe take a moment to consider that the reason why these public comments sound so similar is because these are the demands of the masses. And we will continue to tell our story and show our faces and make it known that we are your constituents, not GKN Aerospace, not CEO.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Not any of these war profiteering companies. Make GKN pay. Stop the expansion. GKN out of Garden Grove now.
Next speaker, Mary.
Hello, good evening. My name is Mary Nguyen. I'm from the California Healthy Nail Salon Collaborative, an office that's located in Garden Grove near the incident zone. And we work with a nail salon workforce that is predominantly Vietnamese. In our work, we have educated the community about the health impacts of MMA, which has been banned in acrylic nail polish products in 2015 by the Board of Barber and Cosmetology, or BBC, due to the respiratory and skin complication it causes in its users. Many manicures have increased chemical sensitivity to MMA from the daily exposure in the workplace. Discovering that this banned chemical from nail polish products was being manufactured in our backyard was very shocking, and seeing how the responses for the community with the lack of language access to our Vietnamese community was very disappointing as well. While the evac order has been lifted, we still aren't sure how the city has made the decision to lift the orders, especially when we have heard from community members experiencing symptoms that have been harmful to their health. So I have a few things that I urge the city council members and the GKN to do, which is there needs to be a detailed report or more transparency on how the air monitoring was being conducted and how this lift was, why the lift was evacuated. The city, more transparency in how you made this decision for the evacuation to be lifted. City council members and the city state agencies must listen and believe their constituents when they share their story. Remove GKN from, and factories like GKN from operating in our neighborhoods that are creating toxic and harmful chemicals in the community, and GKN to compensate all their residents for all the harm that they've caused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Mai Do.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Dr. Mai Nguyen Do, Research and Policy Manager with the Harper Institute for Immigrant and Economic Justice. We know that GKN owes this community far more than $3 million, right? Local businesses owned by residents have lost revenue, and their workers were put in danger by GKN, not to mention the teachers, students, workers, residents in the immediate vicinity who are most at risk. Now, GKN and the foreign investment firm that owns it obviously factor in this damage. Millions of dollars is really just a slap on the wrist to Merrill's industry, which is expecting profits of over $1 billion in US dollars just this year alone. So real accountability for GKN means going beyond making whole the financial damage they've done to OC residents, which, to be clear, it's really critical that they do. Real accountability also means preventing this kind of crisis from happening again, which is why we continue to urge the city to take action and leverage its authority, its local control over land use to make sure people don't have to live, work, or learn next to this dangerous military weapons manufacturer. What is the point of bemoaning that you don't have more local control if you don't use the authority you do have in times like this? The city prohibits commercial cannabis facilities as a matter of public welfare. In fact, the council then had voted to reaffirm this ban about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago by now, which led to numerous dispensaries, local businesses being shut down. So this is more than possible because the city has done it before. That's why we're confident that the city can use its authority to give residents peace of mind so that they're not having to live or learn near these dangerous manufacturers. Thank you.
Our next three speakers will be Rosie K., Rodrigo Garay, and Katerina. Rosie K.
Hello, my name is Rosie. I was born and raised here in the beautiful community of Little Saigon, and I demand a moratorium, a shutdown of GKN Garden Grove facility, more transparency from GKN facility and MMA for GKN to actually pay for everyone affected. The thought of your constituents, your workers, your friends and families having to live or work near an extremely toxic chemical facility that actively makes parts for fighter jets and helicopters to massacre and terrorize people in Palestine, in the Philippines, in Iran, and recently in Southern California, and everywhere else that its missiles and wings can reach should be infuriating to you, especially when you all represent a community where over 40% of the population are migrants, people who had to flee from ecocide and war to come here. Then came the GKN spill, and those people had to flee again only to come back to learn that it's still lingering here. What steps will be taken to protect us in the long term? What's gonna happen to our health? And to GKN, who apparently is not here, will they pay for the lost wages, for the hotel rooms, for gas, for emergency clothes, food, baby formula, diapers, detergent, blankets, etc., and etc.? Are people and the workers themselves going to be listened to and be compensated? Will GKN actually face consequences, or is it the bloody stained money that smells more enticing? These people, your people, including I, call this place home and would like to continue to call it home, but it shouldn't cost our lives. People over profit, implement a moratorium, make GKN pay, and GKN out of Garden Grove. Thank you.
Rodrigo Garay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Rodrigo Garay. I live in District 1. Our family had to be evacuated immediately. And we were affected, obviously, emotionally. My family, every time they hear it, now that 4th of July is coming up, we hear loud bangs, and we kind of figure, is this it? If this is going to happen again. I did a quick review, and you know what, GKN, the grifting is over, seriously. The grifting is over, and what I got to say is that you are not our brother's keepers. You really disappointed Garden Grove, District 1, and the whole community. One of the things that I have in mind here that throughout reviewing our community is that, like realtors say, location, location, location. A lot of those homes are not in a good location, especially I gotta say, Wakeham Elementary. When we were asked to be evacuated, my thoughts were of the Teamsters that are in there, working hard. And the next thing was the children, the elderly in our community. I had families that could not leave Beach Creek Apartments because they just couldn't leave. So again, the directors here make $200,000 to up to $260,000. You know, we have to make sure that Freedom of Information Act, we activate everything from the city up, and that this whole role of military hoods that I call is that they no longer operate in these sections. We have, obviously, again, I'm concerned about the elderly. By the way, this is what I used for a whole week to sleep on at a cot. This is what I used. Not only I, but I had a veteran, a retired police officer that I had to help that had no leg. I had to help him walk at Golden West College so I could sleep.
Sir, your
Okay?
time is up.
This is what I had to sleep on. And GKN, I'm sure that you slept on really nice beds with your $260,000 a year salary.
Next speaker, Katarina.
Mayor, if I may.
City Attorney?
Yeah, Mayor, it's close to 6 o'clock, and we do have additional items on the agenda, and then later a closed session. So I think it'd be appropriate to at this point take a break from the public comments and maybe hear from on the next item.
Okay, we'll be able to pause oral communication, then come back to finish oral communication after item 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, we're going to pause oral communication. We're going to move into matters. Item 2.
Item 2 is discuss and consider communications to GKN demanding accountability.
City Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. One of the key priorities following this incident was to ensure that our local businesses receive support and accurate information and direct access to available resources. I want to introduce our Assistant City Manager, Ursa Luna Reynoso, who will provide some updates relating to business development outreach to our businesses that were affected in the area. Following, we would like to invite Mr. Steve Carlin from GKN to also provide remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Initially, the outreach consisted of a web page being stood up very quickly so that we could provide information to both residents and businesses. As we continue to get more business resources versus residential resources, we started to separate those to make it easier to navigate. I'm going to be focusing on the business resources. The state of California, through CalBiz, was one of the first entities to send us a comprehensive list of some items that we could make available. The Small Business Development Center conducted a webinar. We put that onto our website. So this business resource page provided recovery resources, county assistance information, and also eventually we added the Small Business Administration Economic Injury Disaster Loan Eligibility Workshop. We were soliciting businesses to fill that out if they had economic injury in order to prompt some additional SBA resources. So we did also do some direct business engagement. The economic development team continued to do this direct engagement with first businesses directly impacted in and around the incident site. We also created a business outreach email inbox specifically for the incident, and as we approached businesses, we gave them this email asking them if they have any follow-up questions to contact us, and we are monitoring that daily. On May 28th, we created a business resource information survey. This was added to the business resource webpage and promoted in collaboration with the Community Relations Office. We continue to promote this survey. It has been translated into 3 languages and also includes recovery resources. As of today, the survey has received 78 responses, 73 in English, 3 in Korean, 2 in Vietnamese. On May 28th, we had our first direct business contact. So we did all of the businesses that were directly adjacent to GKN. We also identified employees that had 100 or more employees within the immediate vicinity. And we also contacted major commercial property owners along Valley View. Businesses were informed of the survey and asked to reach out to the email that was created. They were also told about the SBDC workshop, the business resources page, etc. On May 29th was the webinar. 88 businesses attended. 14 were from the city of Garden Grove. Again, participants were told about the link to the business resource information survey, our email, our webpage, and the business outreach email was shared. Staff then worked in coordination with business license and the IT department to compile a contact list of 1,158 businesses located within the evacuation area within Garden Grove. The impacted area was divided into 12 outreach zones, and staff was assigned to each zone so that direct outreach could occur. Outreach efforts and responses are being tracked through a centralized spreadsheet. As of today, over 300 businesses have been directly contacted. Key findings, the majority of responses so far, which is only 300 of the 1,158, is that they experienced minimal to no impact. So most businesses were simply closed for the long weekend, and they reopened Tuesday without issue. If you recall, the evacuation area was condensed on Tuesday, so this kind of makes sense that in large part, many of the businesses were able to reopen on Tuesday, with those being closest to GKN were not able to. A few reported brief Friday disruptions, but recovered quickly. That's the majority of what we've received. There were a few significant impact and notable cases. So the businesses closest to GKN bore the most impact. Several of those businesses reported multi-day closures. One business reported a 60 to 70% sales loss and inability to pay rent. There were a couple of unique circumstances that were reported. One was a pharmaceutical delivery company that they had to relocate their refrigerated medications. An auto shop had its grand opening delayed by 5 days. And then there are some pending unreached businesses. A number of calls went to voicemail or had disconnected numbers. We followed up with emails to the extent we had those emails. We are also working with Cal EOS to see if the SBA, the Small Business Administration, will declare an economic injury disaster. If this is done, a business resource center will be stood up by the SBA within the vicinity. To my knowledge, Garden Grove is the only city that raised their hands to say we would like this within the city of Garden Grove. What this would do, it would provide a place for businesses to go to learn more about business resources, and it would also open up what's called the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, or EIDL, and those are working capital loans for economic injury. That concludes the outreach we've done to date, and we continue to want to get to every single one of those 1,000 plus businesses within the evacuation area. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. That's a very robust list. Sure.
Thank you so much, Ursula, for that update. I do want to flag, and I don't know to what degree you've been in communication with Congressman Tran's office. I watched him on the House floor a few days ago. He did make a call for an emergency declaration from our Small Business Administration at the federal level as well. So to any point that we could get any updates from his office with regards to that progress as well, I think that would be something beneficial for our community.
City Manager?
Thank you.
Of course, we'll be happy to follow up, and thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. This is, again, an update, not only from Sue, who provided an update on resources that were being provided to our residents affected. In this incident, we also are working directly with our businesses so that they have a direct liaison with city staff if and when additional information and support that we can provide. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Steve Carlin, representing GKN, to speak before the council.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, larger Garden Grove community, thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you tonight. I know there are a lot in the community who want to hear from us. Try this a little better into the microphone. Better?
Maybe put it up on the...
This one?
Yeah, put the whole mic on top of it and then pull it. I think that'll be easier.
Better? Can everybody hear better? Okay. I need to speak up. So, Madam Mayor, City Council, members of the community, thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you tonight. I know a lot of people have been wanting to hear from us, so I'm happy to have this opportunity to come talk to you. First of all, before I begin, I want to say a thank you to the brave firefighters, law enforcement, and first responder community, many of whom are in the room right now, for guiding this incident to such a successful and safe conclusion. Thank you on behalf of GKN. In the same moment, I'd like to recognize the local leadership, both at the city level, the regional level, state level, for guiding this community through this event. Your tireless efforts to look after your folks, I thank you. On behalf of GKN and the Garden Grove plant, I want to say I'm sorry that this event and this incident occurred. I understand and I realize sitting here tonight, understand what a disruptive event it was and how unsettling it is to the greater community. It's particularly unsettling to us at GKN because of the long history that we have with Garden Grove and how connected we are to this community. As you know, over 500 people work in that plant, the majority of which live in Garden Grove and the surrounding communities. Additionally, that plant has been there for 60 years on Western Avenue. In many ways, the plant and the city of Garden Grove have grown up and prospered together. Generally speaking, though, the one thing about this plant and our history of going through is we are extremely proud of our association with Garden Grove. And the best way I guess I can explain that is that plant is known throughout the world. It is literally the #1 producer of aerospace transparencies, basically windows. Whether there's a new window out there that's going on a spacecraft or it's going on a new passenger cabin airliner, immediately that industry goes to Garden Grove because we are the experts. We make the most high quality, the most technically complex windows out there. But the interesting thing about that is they don't say, I'm going to go to GKN Aerospace or GKN Transparencies or GKN Windows or anything like that. No matter where in the world somebody needs the most complex window, the most difficult optics problem solved, they say, we're going to go to Garden Grove. That is literally how that plant is referred to around the world. It is simply Garden Grove, and that's how it's known. We are tremendously proud of that. We are tremendously proud of that lineage. We are very much aware that we have broken a trust in the last couple of weeks, and we have a long way to go to earn back that trust. But you have my pledge that this company will do whatever it takes to earn back that trust, make you as proud of us to be part of Garden Grove as we are to be simply known as Garden Grove around the world. With that, Madam Mayor and City Council, I believe you have some questions.
I appreciate your comments. We do. I believe it's important. We're going to ask some questions of you and then obviously make sure we get back to the remainder of our oral communication. Obviously, you've heard quite a few members of the community get up and speak, and I've taken sort of an index, if you will, of some of the questions, concerns, and comments that you've heard this evening, as well as I think some of our own questions. I think my first one of the things I was hoping to hear tonight, and I think as we look at what that accountability question means and what the residents of Garden Grove are looking for, I think at some point in time, although you stand here tonight, it's not the same as really looking at the residents eye to eye and allowing them the opportunity to ask questions of you directly. We're afforded that opportunity this evening, our residents are not. And so I hope, and I ask, and I know in our letter we sort of demanded that you be here this evening. And so once again, I'm going to demand, if I may, that you hold a town hall, some opportunity for a deeper level of accountability, an opportunity for the community, as they've shared tonight, to share their disruption, their pain, their fear, their loss. I feel that you need to shoulder that burden, and they need to have the opportunity to look you in the eye and have that conversation with you, to be able to talk to you directly, and then you be able to share back with them. This is a step forward, but to me, this isn't the solution, and this isn't going to be good enough long term. So that's the first thing. I hope tonight that you can share with the community that you will hold something like that soon, so that the community has that opportunity to speak with you directly and share their concerns, similar to what they did tonight. In this list of questions that was asked, what was inspected? Were there warning signs? Will there be changes to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Will there be disclosures and audits? What sort of negligence and opportunities and what sort of threat is MMA long-term? What kind of compensation to the residents? How you've impacted thousands of lives? How you've shut down businesses? How this plant is near schools? People demanding, again, accountability. What happens to those tanks once they're drained? Will there be new tanks? And I think one of them that struck home with me is, would you be willing to remove these chemicals from your facility altogether? And so I think for me, right now, the two questions that I have is, one, will you hold a town hall, and would you be willing to remove those chemicals from your site altogether?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think from the first question, yes, we'd be willing to hold a town hall. This is a first outreach of us to the community on your invite, and we definitely are. This is something we're going to have continued community outreach. Secondly, the second question, we are still very early in the stages of actually investigating and reviewing exactly what happened on May 21st. So it'd be too early for us to draw any conclusions one way or the other. What I can promise to you is that we will be completely transparent. You, the City Council, you, the folks of Garden Grove, will be very much aware of the results of that and any actions we may take based on that review.
I look forward to hearing more about that. I think one other thing I'd like to, and obviously I want to make sure my colleagues have time to share as well. Charitable donations are not the same as compensation. And so, although we know that United Way was able to stand up the Resilience Fund, and there is a small portion of money going out, it's not enough. I think we all know that. We all agree with that. But again, a donation, a charitable donation, compensation, would you be willing to set up some sort of a claim opportunity that you could shoulder that would then help residents become whole from this situation? Is that something that you can do? What I'd like to see is not necessarily hiding behind a nonprofit, but standing up some sort of a claims process directly through GKN that then would be able to hold account for the residents and what they experienced and what that monetary loss was.
So we are continuing to evaluate a number of alternatives and also a lot of different alternatives to figure out ways to better serve the community. We continue to do that. At this stage, we chose to go with United Way for the first stage of this because of their actually experience of working in these types of things and their outreach across all of Orange County. But we are continuing to evaluate different ways to move forward.
Well, we hope with your continued community outreach and your town hall and all of us here continuing to ask questions and hoping for that accountability, we owe it to our community to ask for it and to demand it. So with that, colleagues, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, good questions. I didn't really get, I don't think the second one was answered, but much more needs to be done by GKN. Obviously, $3 million to a nonprofit. It was good to be able to get some of the money out there to help people who are just struggling, and for that, we're thankful. But that's just such a minor amount. And, you know, our assistant city manager just went over the business aspects. Some of your neighboring businesses that were, you know, and most of the things that she talked about are actually loans, where these businesses who suffer have to go out now through these programs and get loans. And I don't think I heard one grant. Was there a grant in there?
No.
Okay. you know, a lot of these businesses aren't as, you know, they're mom and pop businesses. You know, they're not GKN, they're not, you know, and they're struggling too. And so I think just as rapid, we should be looking at helping some of those businesses in you know, their losses as well. Way more needs to be done for the community, way more. And I think the town hall, please, if you do that, don't do it on site. Rent a room somewhere else, because there's a lot of people you heard here today, they have legit PTSD. And to hold that at your site there, I think that would compound that.
Understood.
All right. So I think if you're going to do that, rent the community room, rent something that you can use, you know, for the, you know, that people will feel safe in their dealings. But my question, my last question, and I know the first one was more of a statement, but what are the other things you're planning to do, or are you exploring, should I say, to help the community and the businesses?
Right now, there's a whole bunch of different things we're looking at across the board. Some of them, quite frankly, are complicated by law, legal proceedings that are ongoing right now, and that limits some of the things and how quickly we can do them. But we're looking at a whole host of things that look at how do we get more support directly to the community itself at large, to individuals, as well as some of the businesses.
And briefly, accountability. You know, there's multiple layers of accountability. There's accountability to the community, but there should also be accountability to your business. I mean, and by that I mean, if you have, as been reported in newspapers, different things, a lot of different incidents have happened in the last couple years. At some point, somebody in the business is responsible. Is that a safety officer? Is that a vice president? Whose head is going to get chopped for this? I mean, honestly, somebody needs to be held. They're not doing their job. If they're having this many incidences and it keeps going down one after another, it's either the company's being lax or careless as a whole, or you've got somebody who's very incompetent on your staff. It's one of the two. So I think there's some soul searching that needs to be done at GKN, and hopefully you'll, you know, I don't want to see these tanks resume there. That's my backyard, and I don't want to have 7,000-ton bombs in my backyard. All right, so I personally don't care about, you know, all the other ancillary stuff. But I think we should explore what we could do, with how we can get rid of those chemicals. If there's a methodology to make it safer or a methodology to get rid of it altogether, I think that would help a lot of animosity for our community.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, we're going to go here, and here. Okay, perfect.
Hello. My question is the same with Mayor and the Mayor Pro Tem. So I'm not going to repeat it. The only thing that I'm concerned today, as you're here today, let people know how you proceed in your company. And you heard our resident expression, request, and demand. That is our request and demand, that we want that answer from you, and we want your support just like we asked for. So one thing that I'm concerned, that I know a lot of my residents would like to know, I don't know if you have the answer today, but will you willing to move the tank to somewhere else away from the community? Yeah, so you can practically ship back and forth the material that you need, and the company still operate, but the tank had to be somewhere far away from the resident. My question.
So as I said, we're still in the very early stages of evaluating what happened in review, but there's a whole host of, depending on how that review goes, I would say all alternatives will be reviewed, I think I say.
So I agree with the mayor actually captured a lot of the question that we have. I just want to point one thing. So all the time, the one thing is that we have to demand you to be here. We were waiting and waiting. The community was outcrying. They came to the council meeting and we wait. And finally you're here. So from today, I hope that you will be accountable and you will respond to the community, not just today, but after this, you're gonna have to, as Mayor Pro Tem already mentioned about the town hall or whatever, but we want to make sure that you understand that earlier you already listened to many speakers talking about the hardship that they have to go through, and we want to make sure that you understand that after today, you're gonna take action. And the one thing that probably everybody wants to know if you're gonna remove the tank, and you already mentioned that you don't know yet, and so I just want to make sure that if we don't hear from you, we're gonna demand you to come back here again. So please take that in consideration. Thank you.
You do have our.
So I do have a couple questions that I wanted to ask. What procedures does GKN have in place for this kind of accidental release scenario, both to prevent it or to respond to it if it occurs?
So we are one of the most highly regulated industries. We have severe regulations in place at both the local, state, and federal level. All of our operations are constantly evaluated and overseen by a whole host of regulatory agencies. Anytime there is an issue or something like that, we immediately resolve it and continue to maintain our regulatory stance.
What outstanding environmental and safety compliances issues is GKN aware of as it is in Garden Grove facility? If any, how is GKN working to remedy those, and what timely manner and to address them?
So as I said before, we're highly regulated, so any issues that we have, we work quickly with the regulatory authorities to resolve them quickly.
What does a future look like for GKN in Garden Grove, given after this incident? Is there a plan to expand in Garden Grove? Is there a plan to support the community aside from just the OC United Way Fund?
So, two questions there. The first one, I'll take the plan. As you know, it's well publicized that there was an expansion in progress when this incident occurred. As far as the other plans, I think I've addressed those with we are continuing to evaluate a number of different opportunities and things to better serve the community moving forward.
Yeah, and I think the last one, which is basically what Mayor Pro Tem and everybody on the dais is asking us, aside from today, what other opportunities, if any, would you allow the public to interact with GKN to answer any of these, more of their questions as well?
Yes, I think so. I think we've heard and knowing through this, I think some sort of public event is definitely in order.
Yeah. So as we continue to recover the recovery process, I want to be very clear. Accountability remains a top priority. A few weeks ago, I called for a moratorium followed by this incident. I continue to stand that position today. A moratorium is about responsibility and prevention. I continue to support the staffs to work on this matter, and I would look forward to reviewing that in the future. The people of Garden Grove deserve more than just promises. They deserve transparency, they deserve answers, and they deserve confidence that everything possible is being done to prevent an incident like this from happening again. So I will continue to advocate for transparency, for accountability, and strong safeguard to ensure that this community remains the top priority with safety. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Carlin. I'm glad that you came and stood up in front of our community, and now I ask you to stand on business, as our youth would say. That means that I expect your actions to meet your words. There are so many of our residents that have been deeply and severely upset by this entire incident. I look to my colleague, George, who represents that district and is someone that has been affected by this instance, and I follow his suit, and I follow just how upset he is with this entire situation. So many of our friends, some of my friends that are in this audience that are residents of George's district that have had to be displaced, their loved ones were displaced. It's not a happy situation why we're here, and I have several questions for you actually. So I'm gonna start off and let you kind of know what I'm going to ask. First, I wanna make sure that you're taking care of your house, and then I wanna make sure that you're doing your part to take care of our house. So first, I wanna ask you, you said in your letter you have over 500 employees. How many of these employees were affected by the evacuations?
I believe around 40%, but I have to get you the exact number.
Now, of these employees, are you still paying your employees, and are they still receiving benefits during this time that they are not working?
Yes, they are.
Thank you. Next, and this is the same question that our mayor asked and so many of my colleagues asked, will you be reimbursing our residents in full? And will you be creating a portal for them to receive reimbursements?
We continue to look at a number of different things and evaluate as ways to better serve the community.
You know, when we receive assignments at school, we're often given deadlines, and we have to meet those deadlines. I think it's important as a part of accountability for us to get an idea of what that time frame is going to look like, because we are dealing with being able to regain our community's trust. Mr. Carlin, I ask that you give us a time frame for us to be realistic about when we can expect answers from you. I think that that's what our community is owed. We want to know when we're gonna get a response from you guys. At least give us a ballpark. Are we talking a couple of days? Are we talking a couple of weeks? Are we talking a couple months? Would you be able to give us an estimated ballpark?
Given the amount of factors that play into that, I don't think I can give you a ballpark at this stage of the game.
Mm-hmm. We heard a lot from our residents today, and one of the things that I kept hearing from our constituents was the word luck. Luck, luck, luck. They were lucky that something worse didn't happen. They were lucky that they were able to find somewhere to stay. They were lucky that something didn't happen. I don't believe that we can have trust with luck. Mr. Carlin, I look forward to some concrete answers from you. I look forward to you meeting our community again. I look forward to attending this town hall with my fellow friends and neighbors. And I look forward to being able to get this accountability. And like George, I don't like the fact that there is a tank that could blow up at any moment in my friends' and neighbors' backyard. And if there's anything we can do, as George said, to make sure that that's not there, by all means. Thank you for your time, Mr. Carlin.
Thank you.
Mr. Carlin, if I may quickly, thank you. Yeah, thank you again for your time. I agree with the idea of time frames, a time frame for the town hall, a time frame for compensation. If that's something that you can work on internally and try to give us parameters, a timeline, a time frame, the community is owed that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, with that, we still have, I believe, a handful of pink cards. I want to make sure everyone has, I'm sorry? Well, go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay. To start, we have Katarina. Then our next three speakers after Katarina, it's Alex Ramirez, Nathan Tran, and Myra El Ajuz.
Hello, my name is Katarina. I'm somebody that works at GKN, and my family too was displaced, but luck played a part because my family is also from all of Orange County. So we had family members that lived outside of the evacuation zone and family members that lived inside the evacuation zone. So luck played a part in them, but luck also plays, am I gonna get lucky? Because my job is my livelihood. I take care of my kids. That's what I survive on. Everybody here wants GKN to close. I don't want GKN to close. 500 people or plus don't want GKN to close because that's our livelihood. Many husbands and wives, sons, daughters, all work there. So it's not just one paycheck that's affected. It could be a whole family. And a lot of them live in Garden Grove or the surrounding area, Stanton, Cypress. Like, everybody lives in that area, and everybody's paychecks are worried. So people are lucky that nothing happened. Yes, everybody wants answers, but luck played a part. You guys get to go home. I don't know if I'm gonna be lucky and have my job at the end of this because you guys want them to leave. I don't want them to leave. I want to have my job. I want to return. And lucky for me, Teamsters is helping as much as they can to do that with GKN. But I don't want them to leave. They've been in your guys' community 60 years. That's a long time. One oops or luck or whatever, I don't want them to leave. I think they deserve an opportunity to fix or change or whatever and earn your guys' trust back. Earn our trust, my family's trust. But I don't think they should leave the community. I think they should give the 500 plus people the chance to keep supporting their families. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Alex Ramirez.
Yes, it's Alex Ramirez, right?
Yes, Alex Ramirez.
Right on, thank you. Hello, everyone. I also work at GKN. I'm an inspector there. I'm also a union representative for Teamsters 952. For the past 3 weeks, because you guys have wanted us closed, I've had nothing but families call me, ask me if we're gonna go back to work. I keep telling them, I don't know, they want us out. It's the same thing, we're scared. Me and my wife both worked there. We worked not even far from those tanks. But we know as the time that we've worked there at GKN has always done everything to do what they had to do to keep us safe. In all the years that I've worked there, I've never been with a safer company. And I spent 10 years at another warehouse within 952, CVS actually. But I feel like the GKN has held up way more standards for the safety, the betterment of our family. It's true how Katarina said, there's a lot of families right now that are waiting for answers. I get a text every day, get a call every day. Do we gotta start looking for another job? I don't know. That's what I keep saying. I was like, luckily we've had 952 that got us these union wages that helped us out. We were able to put kids through college, retire on a good pension. Now it's uncertain. Now we got 500 people that are possibly gonna have to start looking for jobs. At this point, when I had left CVS, it took me about 4 months to find a job. It took my wife when she left CVS 6 months to find a job. I don't know how long it's going to take for 500 people to be able to recover. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Nathan Tran.
My name's Nathan, educator here in Garden Grove and organizer here with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Took the city 2 weeks after the crisis to even begin dialogue with the representative at GKN. The city and state has dragged at their feet to demand accountability from GKN, any sort of proactive cleaning efforts on the site, and refuses to address the issues of the community members outside of putting the responsibility on another nonprofit for a mere $500 per household, pennies from GKN. That's nothing compared to the labor and tax dollars taken by the military industries like GKN. Workers at that facility, like my father, who is a Teamster, worked long hours around dangerous chemicals, spending years not knowing that they were working with a potentially toxic bomb that could level schools and neighborhoods. GKN saw an 11% increase in revenue this quarter of this year, profiting off the bombings of children in Iran and Palestine while putting our communities through crisis. Workers at this facility must be transitioned to safer, more regulated work sites outside the military-industrial complex. A moratorium on the expansion of GKN in the city must be in place, and the city must shut down GKN and companies like it. Garden Grove must end its complicity to death and destruction abroad.
Next speaker, Maya Al-Audus. After Maya, we have Remo. After Remo, Dalal and Nadia. Maya?
Hello, everyone. My name is Maya. I'm a PhD student in environmental engineering at UC Irvine and an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'm also Lebanese American, and in the last 100 days, Lebanon has seen 1.3 million people displaced and over 3,600 people killed in Lebanon by the hands of the Zionist Israeli occupation. This includes my 17-year-old cousin, who was killed while volunteering as an EMT attempting to save lives in my mother's hometown. GKN, the company that displaced up to 50,000 of our neighbors in May, supplies aircrafts to Israel that go to unjustly brutalize my family members in Lebanon, as well as men, women, and children in Gaza and Iran. GKN has been found to manufacture transparent canopies for the F-35 fighter jets and various aircraft parts and services for the CH-53K King Stallion helicopter under a deal between the U.S. Department of War and Israel. And just today, the House Armed Services Committee of the U.S. Congress added a provision to the National Defense Authorization Act that integrates the U.S. military and the Israeli military. This further streamlines the weapons distributions from U.S. military corporations like GKN to Israel. Companies like GKN actively poison our communities while only manufacturing weapons that go to kill my family in Lebanon and others in Palestine, Iran, and around the world. GKN, I hope you're listening, because you have blood on your hands. My family's blood and the blood of the men, women, and children in Palestine are on your hands. We need GKN and all weapons manufacturers out of Garden Grove now. We need jobs in Garden Grove that actually go to benefit our community, not to manufacture weapons of mass destruction. I urge the City Council to do more to protect our communities and hold GKN accountable.
Next speaker, Remo.
My name is Remo. I'm an organizer with the Palestinian Youth Movement, and I work in Garden Grove. We are all holding our breaths to see if Garden Grove City Council will take any concrete action to ensure that GKN Aerospace never threatens this community again. It's one thing to send GKN a strongly worded letter, but that cannot be confused with taking decisive action. A letter cannot stop GKN from expanding its facility by an extra 20,000 square feet. Only a moratorium can do that. A letter will not eliminate the threat of storing thousands of gallons of a volatile, hazardous, explosive chemical right next to where our neighbors sleep at night. That can only be accomplished by shutting down the facility. As another member of the public pointed out, if you can prevent the production of pickles and sausages in Garden Grove, you can certainly do the same for a facility that manufactures military equipment. After learning what kind of a facility we were dealing with, my distaste for GKN Aerospace went beyond the crisis they caused for Garden Grove. There is a disgusting irony in realizing that the corporation that displaced 50,000 Orange County residents and nearly blew up an elementary school was producing components for the F-35 program so those warplanes can displace our families over there and blow up their homes and schools. There is no moral justification for allowing such a facility to resume operations here. After everything, our community deserves industry that builds the world we want to see, and our workers deserve jobs that are safe and aligned with the values of our community. And a strongly worded letter just won't bring about the city that we want to see. It can only bring one spineless GKN representative who couldn't answer the most important questions that this community has. So council members, we're all waiting to see what you do next. There are 3 rooms in this building overflowing with people who don't want to look away and don't plan on forgetting. We want to see real leadership from our elected officials, and we want concrete action to impose a moratorium, make them pay, and kick them out of Garden Grove. Thank you.
Next speaker, Dalal. Dalal A.
My name is Dalal, and I'm a resident in Orange County, and I'm with the Palestinian Youth Movement. We cannot allow GKN to continue to be in Garden Grove after they have proven their negligence and disregard for residents and workers' safety. They've only proven to be a poison to our community, and they have no place here. We know GKN to be an aerospace company that manufactures commercial and military aircraft components. Specifically, they manufacture transparency canopies that are sent and used by the Israeli military to put on top of F-35 jets to bomb the people of Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, and across the region. We refuse to be complicit in enabling a genocide to be carried out by way of these companies operating in our own backyards. We demand accountability. A $3 million donation is a drop in the bucket compared to the damage GKN has caused. They have displaced over 50,000 people, businesses were forced to be closed, and people are already financially struggling on a daily basis. We demand more than just a response from GKN. We demand that you, the city of Garden Grove, deny any permits related to GKN's ongoing facility expansion. We demand that you shut down GKN, and we demand that you adopt an immediate moratorium on existing, expanding, and new military manufacturing facilities. The GKN representative said that their facility here is simply known as Garden Grove. Let me make this clear. You do not represent Garden Grove, and the people represent this city and what makes Garden Grove what it is. And to make it clear, the city of Garden Grove, this is not entirely on GKN. We know what powers you have, and you also hold accountability to never allow this to happen again. Thank you.
Next speaker is Nadia. The next three speakers after Nadia are Norma Barrett, Mona Aguirre, and Frank Aguirre. Next, Nadia A.
Good evening, City Council. For weeks, you have heard your constituents reiterating again and again the unquestionable demand to shut down GKN's facility in Garden Grove. It is no secret that GKN has a history of violations going as far back as 2018, and the city of Garden Grove issued expansion permits for GKN just days before the chemical crisis began. MMA is used in the manufacturing process for F-35 fighter jets that are sent to Israel and then used to bomb and slaughter the lives of people in Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, and across the Middle East. The same bombs that annihilated my family's refugee camp in Gaza, killing and displacing my loved ones, is being allowed to continue to operate in our backyard, displaced over 50,000 residents here in Garden Grove, and is still putting our community at risk. For years, you have allowed this facility to operate in our neighborhood, just walking distance from the schools that our children attend every single day. Why are you continuing to allow this facility to operate with complete and utter impunity? Do we want hazardous jobs, or do we want safe jobs for Garden Grove workers? Do we expect workers to go back to business as usual at GKN? Thousands of businesses in the surrounding area were affected, and their workers were placed in unsafe conditions due to GKN. Those workers, including teachers and staff at the nearby school, also deserve safe jobs. Plus, who knows how many people are now second-guessing working in the surrounding vicinity of GKN. GKN is deliberately responsible for putting jobs in local small businesses and organizations at risk. It is your duty, City Council members, to serve your constituents, and for weeks the people have spoken loud and clear. The City of Garden Grove must, 1, reject GKN's expansion, deny any and all permits for GKN's expansion. Number 2, adopt an immediate moratorium. We keep hearing that y'all need more information, but there should be action taken while you do this. Adopt an immediate moratorium on all existing, expanding, and new military manufacturing facilities. And finally, we demand that you do everything in power to shut GKN down. We don't want conversation, we demand action. So long as you continue to serve the interests of war profiteers, we will continue to show up until our demands are met.
Next speakers, Norma Barrett. Norma Barrett.
Hello. I live next to Dale Avenue. Oh, hi. I'm next to Dale Avenue, so I guess I'm in your district. I want to thank the heroes of the fire authority for stopping the explosion. Thank God, right? And I want to thank all those helping our neighbors recover. But don't forget the undocumented working poor. And they don't need ICE walking around while they're trying to get, some recovery. We don't need a dangerous company with dangerous materials in our neighborhoods. We need to shut down GKN for its irresponsible actions, and it has a long history of bad behavior with its materials. GKN doesn't deserve to stay in our neighborhoods. Let's shut it down. We don't support illegal wars either, and the horrible unsafe weapons factories in our streets. Lastly, we need to clean it up now. GKN needs to fund it, Why the delay? Why isn't it cleaned up? Clean it up, GKN, and then go away. Thanks.
Next speaker, Mona Aguirre.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. My name is Mona Lisa Aguirre. I'm a Garden Grove resident. My home is approximately 600 feet from the tanks. Like many others, we didn't sleep, ate very little, and stressed about medications. After they wanted $1,500 up front for replacement, we had to opt out of most and choose the most critical for that moment. Sorry. I don't want to tell you the extreme measures that we had to take to rescue our animals and retrieve the rest of our medication. Sorry, Garden Grove PD, but we did what we had to do. I want to remind you that this is not the first time I've stood here and complained about GKN. This should be their final act affecting our community. We have long suffered from GKN and their lack of care for the residents of Garden Grove and Stanton. I'm here to remind you of the long ongoing issues. Up until this incident, we would hear random alarms, bells. I don't know if it's lunch, if it's break, but it's all day, all night. And I stood here July 25th, 2017, because for 2 months we heard what was like a loud power washing noise. It was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they did not respond to our inquiries about whether it was permanent, not permanent. The only reason I received a response was because I came to a council meeting. And I only received a response from them after I appeared here. They need to go. Our GKN needs to pay for our long-term suffering and leave for good so we can once again experience what a normal neighborhood feels like and sleep in peace. Thank you.
Next speaker, Frank Aguirre.
Hello, my name is Frank Aguirre. My home is approximately 600 feet from the tanks. We've been there about 20 years. When we bought the home, it was never disclosed to us that those tanks were there or that even the railroad tracks were active. But when we're gonna have to disclose it now, I mean, there goes our equity, there goes our, our property value now. We were allowed to return to our home Thursday night to go home and go to sleep, not knowing that our lives were in danger of not even waking up. Because then we were woken up by a helicopter about early in the morning. We just had to leave with just our, with our car keys and one vehicle. We couldn't grab anything. And then to find out we couldn't even return home. I understand the first responders, you guys did a great job. Thank you all. For running to it instead of running away from it. Putting their own lives in danger. Firefighters and all that. But since we couldn't go back in, homeless were allowed, we're creeping in. We have video on our home cameras of them actually hiding in between our cars and our driveways. We're stressed. We don't even know if we're gonna go home to a home, or our home being looted, or what's going on. I really don't even know what to tell, who to ask. Who reimburses us for all this? We're out $1,500. My light bill's due, my electricity's due. You know what I mean? That money had to be used just to get clothes on our back, to find a place to stay. And then at a moment's notice, because it's dark. I don't understand what's going on, with all of this, because we haven't heard from anybody. George and Ariana, you guys actually spoke very well talking to the representative. Thank you. It's exactly what we wanted to say. That's about it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next speakers are Carlos Baena, Dwight Hua, and Amar Khalid. Carlos Baena. Okay, next speaker is going to be Dwight Hua.
Sorry, I had some trouble getting into the room. Is there a timer?
Can you please state your name for the record, please?
I'm Dwight He.
You're Dwight He. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor Klopfenstein. My name is Dwight He. I am District 1 in Garden Grove resident. I live on Beach Boulevard. I was here at previous council meetings. I actually live on the same block as the GKN facility. And I want to share that returning home has been a really unsettling experience. It does not feel normal. And while the evac has been lifted, many of my neighbors are uncertain about the future of our homes. Do we stay? Do we feel safe knowing that this facility remains in our backyard? I talked to one of my neighbors who has been living in our complex for 12 years, sharing about how difficult of a decision that is. A place that you've learned to call home, the people in the community that you cherish, all of this remains in jeopardy. I asked questions at the last meeting. Why was GKN allowed to operate in our city despite history of violations? And now our city, I ask, why has no substantial action been done to prevent a disaster like this from happening ever again? A payout is not what we want. We demand accountability for GKN and from the city of Garden Grove. I think many of us feel in this community that the representative shared that and showed that GKN does not care about our residents and our people and our community here. They are part of a supply chain creating parts for F-35 fighter jets that bomb families abroad in Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, profiting from war and violence, displacing families abroad and here. And now these hazardous jobs continue. And we ask, do we want safe jobs for our community to be able to work here and stay here and not compromise our values that our city was founded on? We demand that our city should not approve any new permits and allow for expansion of the GKN facility. We demand the shutdown of GKN in our community, and we continue to demand the immediate moratorium of new and future military manufacturing facilities and nothing less. Ever since this disaster, headline after headline has come out, and now what is next? And our city has the opportunity to make a new headline, the power, and to prove that they are not like GKN and they care more about us and the people than our profits.
Next speaker, Amar Khalid. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Carlos Baena.
Hello, good evening. Hopefully you can hear me well, but good evening, members of the board, public, police officers. First, I'd like to start off. I am a resident that lives less than 1,000 feet from GKN. I was actually able to see the tanks as they were being sprayed down from the back of my yard as I stepped on the ladder. I remember on Thursday, helicopters were out there making sure that people were getting evacuated, police officers going to the neighborhood, row by row, telling everyone to evacuate. And so we went to a shelter and we went back the same night. But then Friday came, beginning of the morning, we were told again to evacuate. And once again, I thought that, this is going to be something short term. They let us come back the previous night, we'd be able to come back again, but no, it extended well beyond Tuesday night. And as a lot of members of the public said, some were lucky to find shelter. Now, for me, I live with my parents, my younger sister who is diabetic too, and with my pets as well. And so we weren't able to find a shelter that we could stay at because they were all full, and justifiably so. Everyone needed those resources. But luckily, we were able to find shelter with family members outside in Riverside. But essentially, what I want to at least wanted to mention is that I do wish for there to be accountability with GKN with what they're doing, and there should be some sort of reparations for everyone who was affected. But I also want to thank everyone here that was helping during that time as well, and I know my time is up.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Amar Khalid.
Hello, Council. My name is Thora, and I'm here as a community member and a member of the PYM.
We just heard GCAN's representative deliver a list of non-answers to the council's questions. It is abundantly clear that the GCAN is not a company that can operate in our community. It has shown time and time again that it is a risk to our livelihoods. The chemical crisis at GCAN is one of many incidents GCAN has put our community at risk at, and there is a lot of research to show that. Outside of the significant environmental and health risks GCAN poses on us, it supplies military cargo to Israel to commit its genocide in Gaza and its war crimes in Lebanon, Iran, and across the Middle East. MMA, which is the chemical that was involved in the recent crisis, is used for the transparency canopies for the F-35s that Israel uses. Garden Grove City is allowing a company like GCAN to operate in our backyard as it harms its community while having a hand in genocide. A simple apology is not going to fix this. A $3 million donation is not going to fix this. The health and integrity of our community is more valuable than these baseless attempts GCAN is using to sweep things under the rug. Residents should not have to live next to facilities that can upend their lives overnight. Residents should not have to live next to war profiteers. Workers should not have to choose between a paycheck and a chemical exposure or their own dignity. What we need is a halt to the expanses of GCAN, a moratorium on GCAN, and for GCAN to shut down its facility and leave our community. GCAN obviously cannot be trusted to hold themselves accountable, but council members, you have the power to hold them to account. GCAN is not more important than the safety of your residents, the schools, our workers, our businesses, and our community as a whole. Everyone is watching what is happening in Garden Grove. Whatever decision you make will tell us whether you prioritize us, the people that elected you, the people that you are supposed to serve, or over corporate profit and more money. Thank you.
Next speaker, Peter Pham. And after Peter, we have Ahmed Al-Sharid and Noel Al-Waida. Peter Pham. Okay, next speaker, Ahmed Al-Sharid. Or Noel Awada. Next speaker is going to be Raimi, Kevin Doe, and Justin Pham. Please state your name for the record.
Peter Pham. Hello, my name is Peter Pham, and I'll tell you a little bit about me. I'm a native of Orange County, California. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, and I currently work as a high school substitute teacher. I will be studying to become a chemistry teacher in a few months. Right, and as someone who has studied and will be teaching chemistry, I understand the importance of following safety protocols when handling chemicals. I was lucky to not have been affected by the chemical leak myself, as I live just outside the evacuation zone. However, I know many people who have been affected. People were unable to return to their homes and left with so much uncertainty. Families who are already living paycheck to paycheck were stretched even thinner because they had to rely on staying on the hotels and ordering takeout. Schools had to cancel events, no knowledge of when they could resume. Its consequences are the result of GKN's negligence, lack of transparency, and failure to prioritize safety. Safety should be a top priority, not only in just statements, verbal commands or words, but also and especially in practice. As a future chemistry teacher, I would never allow anyone, any student or any business to handle any chemicals without following safety protocols first. And considering GKN's negligence and history of a lack of accountability, I don't think I would have GKN work in my chemistry classroom either. My message on behalf of our community, as well as to GKN, is this. GKN must provide us with transparency.
Sir, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Rami. And then following Rami is Kevin Doe, Justin Fan, and Dylan Stanton, or Slanton. Rami, Kevin Doe, Justin Pham, or Dylan Slanton. Next speakers are Aurora, Ken, Levi, and Raquel.
Hello. My name is Noelle. I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement and a Garden Grove resident. Like many other of your constituents here, I have attended every city council meeting on accountability for GKN, and as you all already know, there has been an overwhelming majority of people who have demanded you invoke a moratorium now, reject GKN's expansion, and shut GKN down, and yet we haven't seen any form of accountability. I think I speak for everyone in this room when I say we don't want a letter response from GKN. A payout is only the first step, not a donation, which is extremely inaccessible, but a payout, which even then is nowhere near accountability for what GKN has put this community through. GKN has proven that they cannot operate responsibly in Garden Grove. Garden Grove residents do not want to live in a place where the city allows a reckless, unsafe company to operate. Businesses deserve to feel safe. Teachers and staff around nearby schools deserve safe jobs. We want to stop the expansion. We want a moratorium now, and we want to shut down GKN. This is not something that will be swept under the rug or forgotten about. Almost everyone who has spoken is demanding accountability, and we will keep showing up to every city council meeting until that happens. Thank you.
Next, Rami.
Mrs. Mayor, City Council, my name is Romy. During the last two meetings, we heard City Council members speak on accountability for GKN. So far, all we have seen of this accountability is a motion to delay a vote on a moratorium and a strongly worded letter that brought a GKN representative that could not even answer a single question straight. To the community members currently working at GKN, you deserve a job at a company that can support you and your family without simultaneously threatening the livelihood of your entire community. One that has not displaced 50,000 of your neighbors and offers nothing more than a sincere apology. To the people of Garden Grove, you deserve to live in a city that does not allow a company which manufactures military components which contributes to the slaughter of the people of Gaza while simultaneously displacing you and posing a threat to everyone around you, your family, your entire community. You deserve a city council that is accountable to you, one that has the courage to reject the expansion of GKN, to implement an immediate moratorium, and to shut down GKN. Thank you for your time.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Ahmed, and I'm from Resist USA War at UC Irvine. In 2 weeks, GKN evacuated 50,000 Garden Grove residents. Our own UCI students and workers were impacted and evacuated by this crisis. We just heard no concrete evidence and no concrete next steps or commitment to accountability from a GKN representative. And that despite this catastrophe being 2 weeks ago. That the investigation has barely begun on the effects of this leak and on our community's health. Their negligence and prioritization of profits caused our community members to lose their jobs and livelihoods, to miss work, to pay out of pockets for hotels, and they are still financially recovering from these evacuations. The measly $3 million is a mutual fund that GKN paid is nothing compared to what working migrant families have lost, and the impacts that residents will feel on their long-term health. On top of that, GKN's own workers are forced to be surrounded by these chemicals without a worker safety program. The weapon parts that GKN manufactures are being tested right now in Long Beach and LA in military exercises. They create parts for F-35 jets being used in US-led war and militarism in Palestine, Iran, the Philippines, and more. And now the prioritization of this war company is hurting our migrant worker communities here. In Orange County, which is home to more weapons corporations like Anduril that profit from threatening our communities here and abroad, we continuously demand for these weapons corporations out of our communities. We demand that GKN pay the communities that were impacted and that proper transparency is accurately issued on the long-term impacts of this disaster on our health and environment.
Thank you. Next speakers, we have Raquel Zeleznik, Eric Crane, and Kayleen Kuykendall. Raquel? Our next speakers are Raquel Zeleznik, Eric Crane, and Kayleen Kuykendall. We'll have speaker Kevin Doe.
Hello, my name is Kevin Doe. I'm 24 years old, and I am a resident of Orange County my entire life. Growing up near the area of Garden Grove for 20 plus years, I've gone through the K-12 system, and I just finished community college last month. I have lived all of my life down the street, experienced childhood to adulthood, and witnessed all that goes down in our city. Within the area of the impact zone charted on the evacuation map. That map could have also been our blast zone for our death. You're very lucky that the chemical didn't level out the entire neighborhood. Had it gone off, you're not just talking about entire family. You're talking about entire generations of children, senior workers such as first responders, education system, and the parents gone just like that, wiped out in a small area. 50,000 people have been displaced from their homes, but it could have gone a lot worse. We could have had our own Chernobyl within our backyard. 50,000 people is only the immediate impact of this incident. You're talking about entire religious community, preschools, elementary, middle schools, high schools, and even colleges down on Valley View, Lamson Avenue, and Knott Streets. It all could have been wiped out in one mistake. And their whole response to the incident shows that they only care more about profits than the lives that live here. You don't care. You only care because you've been caught in the act, messing up and now trying to cover it up. They seem to care more for manufacturing weapons to produce $1 million stealth fighter jets to gain an advantage in the illegal war in Middle East. They think it outweighs the impact that it could have had on the generation of 50,000 families. We could have been one chemical reaction away from not being here today.
Sir, I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin Pham.
Greetings, Garden Grove City Council. I would like to start by thanking the first responders for handling the situation at the chemical plant and for the community for banding together in this time of crisis. My name is Justin Fan, and I went to school in Garden Grove, and I had many friends that were affected by the chemical leak. In the face of this recent incident at GKN Aerospace Facility, and their repeated negligence in meeting any of the regulatory and environmental standards in the past, I urge the council to stop GKN's planned expansion in Garden Grove and to hold a moratorium on their current activities for the sake of your constituents. This recent spill has leaked toxic chemicals onto our neighborhoods and the environment of Garden Grove, and have left us with thousands of displaced residents, interrupted businesses all across the area, and there are continued reports of respiratory illnesses, eye and skin irritation, even after the situation became stable. This is going to be a problem for years to come, as residents will have to deal with the financial burden from this incident. We'll have to be cleaning up all the air, soil, and water from toxic industrial chemicals, and who knows what other health impacts will follow in the decades to come. This is going to cost us millions of dollars, and who's going to pay for all of this? Based on GKN's past history of skirting maintenance, labor, and environmental laws, and actions from similar aerospace military companies that avoid legal responsibility and cleanup, GKN will not be helping us. We will be forced to spend our tax dollars paying for GKN's mess. The city of Garden Grove is a strong community, and we should not allow a foreign company to trample on us like this. I urge the city council to use their full power to force GKN to follow the rules like they should have been doing in the first place. I urge you to use your power to demand that they pay for the damages, millions of dollars of damages that they have inflicted onto our community.
Sir, I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, have a nice day.
Next speaker, Ken T.
Hello, good evening, council members. My name is Ken. I'm with Sunrise OC, and I'm a resident of Little Saigon who lives right at the border of evacuation zone during the GKN chemical spill. I have lived in Little Saigon my whole life, and I have a background in environmental science. So I'm here today to demand that Garden Grove reject GKN's expansion and put the health and safety of residents ahead of corporate interests. When the evacuation orders were issued, my family and I found ourselves in a confusing and stressful situation. Because we lived near the edge of this evacuation zone, many people, including my family, did not feel a strong sense of urgency. However, as someone that's trained in environmental science, I understand how dangerous the chemical releases can be and how quickly these situations can escalate. The hardest part was trying to convince my older family members to believe, because they were like, they can't see what's happening, they don't know what's happening, and I had to tell them it's really bad. And I had to beg them to leave, right? And many people at the border felt like they were far enough from danger, and they could simply just walk across the street if the conditions got worse, right? And that should concern all of us. The disaster also affected me professionally, right? I just got a recent job around the GKN's area, and we had an office open that week, and we had to miss out work and couldn't even do anything for a couple of days, right? And the consequence of this disaster extended far beyond the evacuation zone and disrupted the lives of, including me, workers, businesses, and families around the area. More than 50,000 residents, including myself, were displaced, schools were closed. One of my mother's co-workers who lives nearby the area developed a severe rash on the day of incident. While the long-term health impacts remain uncertain, the fear and disruption and economic impacts are very, very real. As someone with a background in environmental science, I know that these consequences of industrial accidents can have last long effects after an emergency is over. This incident should be a wake-up call. No company should be allowed to expand after creating a crisis that placed tens of thousands of residents and put an entire community at risk. I urge the city council to reject GKN's expansion and put people over profits. Thank you.
Next speaker, Livy D.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for allowing us to speak here today. I'm a Garden Grove community member here to urge you to protect all of us by shutting down GKN and imposing an immediate memorandum on all military manufacturing facilities. As many of us have said, this chemical crisis was the first of its kind to happen in our country. But is it really a surprise that it happened, that we ended up in this insane mess? GKN violated SoCal AMQMD regulations, refusing to provide pertinent records and permits, using illicit compounds, and exceeding VOC emissions limits for over a decade. Despite 6 previous warnings and lawsuits since 2009 to improve their handling of hazardous waste, they have not done so. A warning alone is not enough. An apology is not enough. We cannot trust your promises for transparency. To war profiteers like GKN, monetary fines are just the cost of doing business. Let the record show GKN never cared about the people of Garden Grove, and they cannot be above the law. Even if GKN was functioning in perfect working order and in accordance with the city's regulations, its presence here unequivocally contradicts the city's core values. How can Garden Grove present itself as a home for immigrants while housing a corporation that contributes to weapons of mass destruction? How can you call Garden Grove a home to anyone except greedy polluters if we continue to be complicit in genocide? Refusing to impose a memorandum on all military manufacturing facilities in your jurisdiction so that this doesn't happen again would be a slap in the face to the 50,000 residents told to abandon their homes, the small businesses and organizations who stepped up for the community, and to your staff who valiantly worked around the clock to meet Garden Grove's urgent needs. We're asking you to hold GKN accountable for all of us here. Thank you.
Next speaker, Raquel. Raquel Zalesnik. Eric Crane.
Hi, for the record, name is Eric Crane. Live in Long Beach, not about 10 miles. Let me just hold this. Rather tall. So I live in Long Beach, not in Garden Grove directly, but sort of the opposite direction where the wind was blowing. And if it had been blowing the opposite direction, I would have been in the evacuation zone. I guess my comment, other than acknowledging the potential for my own life, my own need to evacuate, I guess the question is it's a matter of trust. Like, do we trust GKN? They can't handle manufacturing plastic. I mean, God forbid this was like some sort of nuclear apparatus. Like, they don't seem to be able to handle plastic manufacturing. And they have a record of violations of worker safety and environmental and violating environmental regulations. So to allow them to continue to operate, can we trust them? The representative said it's a heavily regulated industry. I mean, apparently not well enough. I mean, can we trust them to handle this material where we have to evacuate 50,000 people, where they're operating in a sensitive environment of, residential area where if they do something wrong, there's an explosion. I mean, I don't know how they operate. Could this have happened at 3 a.m. when everyone's asleep? As far as the implications for what they manufacture, that's a much larger discussion that sort of is being brought home right now by the fact that this incident happened, for what these products are used for, and I think that's a much larger conversation the entire country has to wrestle with. For the workers themselves, like, the company owes them a safe work environment. Let's try to hold them to a standard where they can be trusted for their employees and the residents who live around them. Thank you.
Next speaker, Kayleen.
Hi, my name is Kayleen Kuykendall. I have a lot to say to GKN, but I'm going to save that for the town hall that they just agreed to due to our limited time today. At the city council meeting, I need to address our elected representatives. City and county officials have told us numerous times that there was no actual leak or escaped fumes after the fact. However, this is incongruent with the reported experience of many community members within the impacted zone. My own neighbors have reported respiratory and skin irritation, and this is congruent with a recent Cal Matters article, which noted that some residents reported nosebleeds, itchiness, and deaths of pet birds. This article cited the California Healthy Nail Collaborative, who we heard from earlier today. The deaths of pet birds caught my eye specifically, not because of my own elderly parrot, but because this cannot be attributed to a placebo effect. We want accountability from GKN, and we also want accountability from the people who have enabled them. So, the emergency zoning ordinance and 45-day moratorium on aerospace expansion that was proposed by council members Arastegui and Muñetón is an excellent start. But why did our mayor and our city manager delay that? That's a question for you to answer later. I still have a little time. I also want to know, when the city approved this facility's expansion just a couple days before the incident, were their prior safety violations reviewed? Was it confirmed that their prior safety violations were actually adequately corrected before approving this expansion project? When GKN's permits and expansion were approved, did the city consider the potential chemical reactions with the chemicals stored in the neighboring facilities? As most of us know, there are numerous aerospace facilities in that neighborhood on Western and on Lamson. And all of us who have been impacted are worried about the compounded effects. If GKN's methyl methacrylate had leaked on that day, what kind of a chemical reaction would we have seen from the neighboring facilities with their own chemicals on board? That's a really concerning issue for us. Ooh, I think I got it in 2 minutes exactly. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers will be Bin Yen Bui, Robin X, and Noor Ayawad. Bin Yen.
Thank you. Good evening, council members, the mayor. I'm a resident of Stanton, and my house is really close to the site that have the chemical tank. It's like less than half mile, so we were the first one who evacuated and the last one to return home. So I will never forget the day that the police car drove slowly on the street, loudly asking people to leave the house, and the helicopters was like circling above us. So with kids, we just grab something really quick, and I'm a cancer survivor, so I have to take medication. So I was like really didn't know what to do, but try to find my medication, and we just leave the house. Left the house. So we were shocked learning that, there was a tank that may explode or leak in the area. Seeing that, we learn more about the city, the area where we live, that there are many industrial plants, operating, and they consume a lot of toxic chemical. I work for a water company, and I know for years we have the groundwater have issue with PFAS. And then this immediately remind me about PFAS. PFAS is something that have like plastic chemical, not going anywhere. Once you have it in your body, it stay there and cause cancer or, your health issue. Talking about the cost, evacuating for 5 days, the cost is like material with hotel, food, other needs, medication if you have to go to the pharmacy.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
That's okay.
Next speaker, Robin X.
Hello, my name is Robin. I am a member of Local 50, which is part of the Teamsters Union. I'm here to speak on behalf of other members of my union who were forced to work at Disneyland during the state of emergency that was declared in Orange County. I had friends who were trying to call out, but neither the union nor the managers there were granting them to leave, despite some of them being in the evacuation zone and were still trying to recoup. But the time off that they were trying to take off was being counted against them. I had tried to call out of work directly with the union myself, and they didn't give me any support in this. As far as I see it, Teamsters is completely compromised to corporate interests. I know there were members of Teamsters who worked with GKN who were able to get time off and were able to get paid for that. I'm happy that they were able to, and they were able to be worked with. But for myself, I understand that people's livelihoods are tied to GKN Aerospace. As myself, I had worked in aerospace myself for 4 years in aerospace manufacturing, and as far as I see it, it was just seeing what happened with GKN is just another country club trying to just blowing up the neighborhood just for the sake of profits. As that's all I have to say is that This isn't just an issue of GKN or aerospace, it's a problem of capitalism, and that it is something that must be dismantled in order to put people over profits. Thank you.
Next speaker, Noor. Noor. Next speaker, Erica Gonzalez. Dylan de Guzman.
Hello, my name is Dylan. I'm a member of Anak Bayan UCI, Filipino Youth Org, fighting for the rights of Filipinos, and I've lived in Garden Grove for 7 years. Earlier, Steve Carlin, you said that GKN is highly regulated, but as it's been publicized, GKN has a history of violating safety regulations. And why else would we be in this situation in the first place? To emphasize how expensive this emergency has been, the city burned through public funds and resources to station firefighters, teams, and experts to run gallons of water continuously for days and mobilize hundreds of police. On the other end, you said 40% of your workers have been impacted. Similarly, we've met impacted migrant workers who burned holes in their bank accounts to keep their families safe, lost days of work that could have put food on the table, paid rent, or bought gas. We met 2 Filipino caregivers from the same block as GKN, and they were unjustly fired by their employer despite the state of national emergency. So for workers impacted, how do you expect them to support their families now? How can we feel safe with no clear answers on the long-term health and environmental impacts? And why do the people have to pay? GKN is reaping around $3.7 billion in revenue and only donated $3 million to a mutual aid fund. So if GKN actually wants to take accountability, they need to actually pay. We need full transparency around the impacts on our health and the environment. Weapons manufacturers like GKN should not be in the backyards of our community, and its workers deserve safer, more reliable jobs. Make GKN pay, people over profit, weapons manufacturers out of our communities. Thank you.
Next we have Erica Gonzalez.
Hi everyone, my name is Erica Gonzalez. I'm a lifelong Santanera resident, so I live in the Dalhai neighborhood. I'm here to stand in solidarity with the Garden Grove and Stanton residents. I happen to live in the industrial corridor, which we have our own GKN subsidiary in our neighborhood that contaminated our groundwater about 20 years ago, and we are still reeling with the after effects and the aftermath of that cleanup because of the negligence by this company. So I stand before you as a resident that has been impacted and has seen firsthand what these types of facilities do in our communities, because we already know this isn't the first time that something like this has happened. This specific situation, yes, but this is not the first time a corporation like GKN has contaminated or has impacted our residents. And it costs lives. Like, it costs lives, not money, not $3 million, not whatever their what they end up making every year. Like, these are lives, quality of life that we have seen impacted. So I stand before you, like I said, as a Delhi resident, but I also happen to work for Orange County Environmental Justice, which is a local nonprofit here in Orange County. And we had to fill in a lot of the gaps that you were not able to fill in when the evacuation first started. We had to do translation. That was all because of grassroots organizations, and thank you and shout out to them for their for the collaboration and for the quick responses, because we've already seen mutual aid is on the ground, and the folks that are most impacted are always the ones that end up doing all the work. And that needs to end now. You need to be here and hold GKN responsible and accountable, and they need to pay out these families. They need to pay out for wages that were lost. They need to pay out for the hotels that they had to pay out. We heard stories from evacuees that had health effects. So when you tell us that there were no health impacts, those are lies, blatant lies, because we saw firsthand. I saw pictures of people that had skin irritation. We talked to folks that had gone to the emergency room. We talked to folks that had accessibility issues. They didn't even have enough power for their
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you very much.
Do better.
Next speaker, Dylan Slanton.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Dylan. I've lived in Westminster my whole life, and I'm also a part of a youth-led environmental justice organization called Sunrise Movement, and I also have a degree in chemical engineering. And I like to speak on behalf of myself, but also everyone else who was frustrated on the lack of communication from OCFA and the city of Garden Grove. Not most people know what a levee is, or what it means that the tank was releasing pressure but not chemicals, or just generally have a good idea of what was going on. And I shouldn't have to dig through Wikipedia pages about MMA or polymerization or reactor kinetics to understand the risks, the mechanisms, and so on. And this lack of communication makes me skeptical of your willingness to serve the city and the people in it. I hope to be proven wrong, but I'm still skeptical after 2 weeks ago when it was voted to delay a moratorium on military manufacturing and their environmental compliance regulations. And granted, you did ask great questions. I really appreciate that. As for GKN, I'm very skeptical about their ability to make right with Garden Grove after not being able to answer at least some examples on how they're looking at how to make right with the people of Garden Grove. And as for the city of Garden Grove, I urge you to please deny the permitting to let GKN expand and just pretend that this didn't happen, and to adopt a moratorium immediately, continue to hold GKN accountable. And
So your time is up. Thank you.
For the people who are displaced, make right to them, please just be more transparent. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Aurora M. Aurora M. Final announcement for our last speaker, Aurora M. Madam Mayor, that concludes all our public speaker cards.
Thank you very much. City Attorney Sandoval, just for point of clarification, we're now going to recess into closed session. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.